Bruce Friedman of Adult Site Broker, and welcome to Adult Site Broker Talk, where every week we interview one of the movers and shakers of the adult industry, and we give you a tip on buying and selling websites. This week we'll be talking to Heather Montgomery of Please Me. Adult Site Broker is proud to introduce ASB Marketplace, the first platform where you can buy and sell adult sites and domains for free. ASB Marketplace allows buyers and sellers the chance to come together on properties that are valued below our company's minimum of $50,000. Don't pay for other marketplaces when ASB Marketplace gives you this service for free. Visit asbmarketplace.com and sign up as a seller or as a buyer today. And don't forget ASB Cash, the first affiliate program for an adult website brokerage, where you can earn as much as 20% of our broker commission referring sellers and buyers to us at Adult Site Broker. Check out asbcash.com for more details and to sign up. Now let's feature our property of the week that's for sale at Adult Site Broker. We're proud to offer for sale an adult pay site discount and review platform. The site offers top discounts to the hottest networks in adult entertainment. In addition, they offer full-length scenes to these sites so surfers can sample the content. Also, these scenes serve to keep the visitors engaged longer on the site than the traditional review site. They offer outstanding prices to adult networks on behalf of their visitors. The surfers on the site will be hard-pressed to find a better price to their favorite network, including Evil Angel, Adult Time, Brazzers, Bang Bros, and just about every other top adult network and site. They've been growing their email list since 2020, and the list has grown to over 2,000 in the past 6 months. Their unsubscribe rate is in the low single digits. Their free porn section is growing, and they currently have roughly 150 scenes. Their traffic has been all organic until recently, but now they've started paying for traffic as well. This has boosted their ability to grow their email list and get return visitors. You can buy this outstanding pay site review platform for only $956,000. Now time for this week's interview. My guest today on Adult Site Broker Talk is Heather Montgomery. She is the founder and CEO of Please Me, and let me spell that out, Pleazeme. Heather, thanks for being with us today on Adult Site Broker Talk.
Oh my God, it's so wonderful to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's nice to have you. Now, I'm going to tell people a little bit about you. Heather created Please Me to challenge the status quo as it relates to the way people treat sex in life, as well as in society, especially for women. She longed for a fun, sexy place to explore and expand her sexual desires without a backlash in her personal and public life. As a single woman, she didn't find it. Montgomery's concept of Please Me is a tool tailored to one's sexual interests, desires, and needs, laden with diverse resources. Heather has been an entrepreneur and marketing professional for much of her career. Heather previously consulted medical businesses on integrating health and wellness, nutritionals, novel and advanced testing, medical devices, and cellular therapies. In early 2019, Heather became the host of Please Me's face-to-face series, Intimate Interviews with the Innovators and Educators of Sexual Wellness and Pleasure. You can find her on Twitter at HCMontgomery201. So Heather, how has online censorship affected users of social media and businesses in the adult industry?
Boy, Bruce, how hasn't it? I mean, every day we're hearing more and more stories about people that are losing their channels completely. They're getting just deleted.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they're censoring their content by either removing posts completely and saying it's sexual solicitation, which we got for putting a meme up about the Australian kiss, and a bathing suit in one picture. A one-piece bathing suit we got deleted because they said it was sexual solicitation, which is just ridiculous. But more importantly, I think what people really need to pay attention to is that how many followers do you have and how many of those followers are actually seeing your posts? Because when we dial it back, even our own followers are only getting to see, 2 to 3% of them are seeing our posts. So how is that happening, right?
Well,
Why
we
are our
know.
own followers not seeing our posts? So why
Yeah.
post?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like why post?
Yeah.
We stop posting on Instagram unless it's like a big holiday or we have an interview that we're letting everybody know is now live. That's it.
Mm. Well, I mean, what do we do about that?
Well, I mean, it really depends on your business model as far as where are you advertising and marketing. I mean, right now they're the big player, right? Everybody wants to be able to advertise and market on Instagram, but unfortunately, we can't advertise there either.
No.
They won't take our advertising dollar. So you really have to be creative. I would say to make every best effort that you can to get your email list out of your followers, meaning number one, you have a way to contact them if God forbid they do decide to cut you off. And then, obviously, pleaseme.com, we designed it to celebrate sexuality and to be a social media platform where people could be able to interact. And when I say people, I mean users who are learning and want to know about sex and sexuality. And they have anonymity now, right? So, which is great because even if I did like somebody's content on Facebook or Instagram that was of a sexual nature, I probably wasn't going to share it.
Yeah.
Right. Because grandma was watching and so were my kids and my neighbors. Right.
Sure.
And so we see very little social sharing in our industry.
Wait a minute. Your grandma isn't on Please Me?
No, not well. If she is, she may be. She's 100, but I mean, she may be, but she doesn't know my anonymous profile.
I love it.
I mean, I have my public one for my channel, my brand of who I am, but then I still have. Actually, I have 3 anonymous profiles on Please Me because I like to dabble in all the worlds. So I have 3 because I just have different personas. For me, it's a way of playing, if I will. When I went on my BDSM, I go in my BDSM hat and I go chat with my BDSM people. And when I want to talk about feminine and divine feminine energy and tantra, I go in with my tantra identity. So that's kind of how I use it. But this allows, obviously, brands and thought leaders to talk about sex freely, not worrying about it getting deleted or their accounts getting deleted. We boost their posts instead of suppressing them because we're looking for that content to introduce our members to because that's why they're here.
Sure.
And so do we have the number of members that Facebook has? No. So we're not the short term solution of how do they get the eyeballs, tomorrow.
Right.
Because we're still growing. We don't have the 200 billion members that Facebook has.
You
at the
don't?
Time. Not yet, Bruce, but we'll get there.
You will.
But what it is the place where they can tell their current followers, hey, I can't post this stuff over here anymore. So if you want my more deeper, meaningful, sexier, fun content, then come follow my Please Me channel. Because we're not going to delete our Facebook accounts because what you do on Please Me is not what you do on Facebook, right? So it's not a competition, right? And so this is just the place you go to play and have some fun and learn and expand your sexuality. So it's complementary, not competition, if that makes sense.
So 3 profiles, a little bit of a split personality there, huh?
Yep.
I love it. I heard recently the European branch of the Free Speech Coalition is petitioning, I don't know what body it is in the EU. They're coming up with some kind of internet law, and they're petitioning against censorship for the sexual industry.
Great. I'd love to get right on board with that and post it all over Please Me and tell all 420 channels about it so they can get on board. I mean, this is what we're passionate about. I'm a huge advocate for free speech. I think it's very important to have both sides of an argument be heard. And I say argument, but discussion. I mean, thought process.
Sure.
And when it's important for innovation, it's important for education, it's important for development of anything that matters, right?
Sure.
So I can't stand to see this violation of our rights.
Yeah.
especially in this country where we have them.
Yeah, supposedly. That's
Supposedly.
yeah,
Right,
that's what the Constitution says. How it's being carried out is another matter. So how has marketing changed for the adult industry since FOSTA-SESTA was passed?
Well, let's be fair. I mean, we've always had censorship, right?
Right.
We've been treated like the redheaded stepchild for a long time. However, what happened in 2018 is that the protection of, well, which is all the rage right now, is to talk about, this act from 1984 that we've had that protects and indemnifies internet providers from the activity of their members, right?
Yeah.
It allows us to be able to provide technology so people can use it, because we can't be responsible for every single person on our platform and what they do, right? That's what the Communications Act, Section 234 is all about. But what FOSTA-SESTA did is it said, okay, yes, you have Protection 234 for everything except if there's anything that's going on and they put it under the human trafficking. We're doing this to stop human trafficking, which, by the way, I am a huge abolitionist for sex trafficking.
Sure.
It has to stop. It's the third fastest growing criminal enterprise in the world. And we still have slavery, and it's called sex trafficking, right? So if we want to talk about racism, well, let's end slavery first. Come on, people. We still have slaves running around, right? So let's get to that. And so I think it's important that we do tackle that subject and find a way to do it. But what they did was lumped in prostitution into the law and said, if you're doing anything that, like marketing prostitution or advertising any sex work, and or have anybody being sex trafficked, and or have any child pornography, which I agree, we should not have child pornography.
No.
We should not have people being sex trafficked online, and it is bad. But it removed those safeguards from 234, and so now
230, by the way.
230. And so now 230, Section 230. Yes. I'm sorry, I had to get up.
Don't worry about it. Yeah, I know. And I asked you to do this at 8 a.m. So that's my fault. I'm sure you know what it is.
Don't worry, Section 230. Yeah.
Yes.
And so at any rate, those protections are no longer there. So now people are the people that own these companies are not only civilly or criminally liable, but also civilly liable.
Yes.
So anybody can sue anybody for anything these days, and you have to then defend yourself in a court of law. Yep. And so, and then there's
and they do.
And then there's, of course, the civil part or the criminal part, which not only can you be fined, but you can face jail time.
Yes.
Right. So it's a serious and scary thing, right? And there's the added problem of these platforms have 13-year-olds and up on them, right? Facebook and all these other platforms have allow their members to be 13 years or older. So the reason why the increase in censorship, especially on, well, let's just say on sex and sexuality, because there's other censorship going on right now too. But that particular censorship started in April, and we've seen it roll out. We've seen Tumblr say no longer handling adult content, right? That was the first big Lego to fall or domino to fall. And then we started seeing the revision to terms and service and the deletion of posts and the deletions of accounts left and right, and the introduction of AI algorithms to help them try to get rid of some of this content. But the problem that they face, and I don't try to villainize them, because there are real problems that they face, and I don't think they want to suppress sexual content, and maybe they do, but I would bet that they probably don't.
Yeah.
I think they're just doing it for they have
CYA.
They want to cover their ass, but they also have big advertisers that say, hey, if you're allowing advertising or you're being associated with this, and this, and we're not going to spend our money with you. Well, but I think Facebook is pretty big now. I think they could probably tell everybody to bugger off if they wanted to. You don't want to spend your dollars here, don't, because good luck, where you're going to get better ROI and a bigger pool of people. So I think it's more about the cover your ass thing.
Don't talk to me about Facebook. I can't even post or like on any of my accounts because of their stupid AI
Right.
over me wishing a friend happy birthday. Okay, so
Unbelievable.
I've deleted Facebook on all my devices just to let you
Yep.
know. Yep.
Yep. Me too. I didn't even load it on my new phone because I just don't even want to go there. It's not
No,
even, I haven't been deleted. It's just like, I just don't
it's
even want to,
ridiculous.
I just don't, I'm done.
Well, and when
Uh,
you talk about the whole sex trafficking thing, which was supposed to be the reason for all this,
mhm.
and I blame the politicians who sponsored it. Not going to mention any
Yeah.
names, but ones in the White House. You know, it's supposed to cut down on sex trafficking, and not only did it not cut down on sex trafficking, it made sex trafficking worse because
Right.
now law enforcement doesn't have those escort sites to find the sex
Mm,
traffickers and entrap them. But at the
yep.
same time, it's made sex workers unsafe because they
Right.
can't vet Johns, and a lot of
Mhm.
them have been driven to the streets. So
Yeah.
no, this law stinks from top to bottom, and I think eventually, I hope eventually it's abolished.
Yeah.
I expect to see a Supreme Court challenge of it at some point. Where that goes, God knows. But
Mhm.
we won't get into that.
Yeah. Yep. No, I mean, it's, the people that make the laws sometimes, obviously, as we all have experienced, it, clearly don't think.
No, no.
Like
Stop there.
about,
Don't think exactly.
they don't think, like, how is this going to affect everything else? And are we really putting together good legislation that has a
Yeah,
chance of actually really solving this problem? And
yeah.
so I don't,
No, no.
I
And
wasn't there. I didn't do it, but I agree with you that it's had a horrendous effect. And I mean, it's visible worldwide. I mean, it's huge
well,
what
and
the effect it's had.
and we're speaking of not think. We're recording this the day after a prominent Republican congressman from your state has been charged with sex with a 14-year-old girl. So there you go.
Well,
Uh,
that's horrific, and that
no,
he should be
they don't
punished to the
think.
nth degree of the law if it's true.
I won't mention his name, Matt Getz. Anyway,
Yeah.
how are you different from other platforms that support adult content, like, say, FetLife?
Yeah. I mean, so number one, obviously, we started building the technology in 2018. And we've been working on it every single day since, and
Mm-hmm.
we will continue to evolve the technology this is what we call an MVP, which stands for minimum viable product, but it's a souped
Mm,
up. It's a very well functioning MVP, but I say it that way because there's so many
mm.
things I want it to be able to do.
Yeah,
Eventually put on a VR headset and walk inside one of the seven worlds that please me, for example,
sweet.
but that's a little bit further down the line.
Yeah.
So I think one of the primary ways that we're different than FetLife is from what I understand, and I went on it briefly and I talked to a lot of people that are on it.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't really done much with the technology in the last 5 or 10 years, like however long they've been around. I don't
Been
think,
around a long time.
yeah, I don't think they up their software and make changes, right? So it's really, FetLife is really a community, which we
Mm-hmm.
will be too, but
Right.
we're more of a technology company, right? We're
That's
going to
interesting.
continue to innovate. We're going to continue to expand. We're going to
Mm-hmm.
continue to add fintech for our industry. We're going to be doing, and when I say for our industry, I think the difference also too between FetLife and us is they're very specific, obviously, to
Yes.
BDSM, whereas we are
Yes.
sexual wellness and pleasure across the board. I wanted everyone
Nice.
to be able to feel like they have a place where they can have resources for their sex and sexuality, regardless of their preference.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I wanted to explore, I wanted to go into FetLife because I was kind of curious about BDSM. I hadn't had any experience with it yet,
Mm-hmm.
but it was just a little too scary. And what I mean by that is too much unknown.
Yeah.
And I felt like I'm gonna be this newbie, and I'm gonna go on, and everybody's gonna be like, wow, jump on the new girl, and I didn't know what I was talking about. I didn't know what to expect, and already it's that control versus submission and pain for pleasure. So it was kind of
Sure.
like a little scary anyway.
Mm-hmm.
In your mind, of course, it's not. right?
Right.
We know this if you've been involved in it, but when you haven't, you don't know that. So
Well, I don't
went on,
know.
like,
I don't know if you've ever sat through a taping of one of Kink.com's BDSM scenes like I have, and I brought my very innocent Thai girlfriend at the time, who became my wife, to the party. It was at the Kink Castle, which no longer exists in San Francisco. Oh, it scared me.
yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what I was worried about, right? And so I was on there for like 2 days, and I'm like, I'm off of here. And it was dark, and it was black, and it was, the software inside of it even felt like a little like, ooh, I feel scared. But I know people love FetLife, and I don't mean, and I in no way means to put it down,
No,
because
not at
it is a great community, and I know that people have been on there for a long time, and they are able to connect with one another, and I think it's great. I think it's wonderful. So yeah, we're very similar in the sense that it's a community where you can. We're more like Facebook. I mean, we don't like them very much, but from a functionality standpoint, where
It's an understatement.
businesses have business pages, people have personal accounts. You can follow people, you can follow businesses. They show up in your feed. They can post an article. They can post a video.
I used to have all that Facebook.
Right, exactly. So, and I think FetLife isn't designed that way, right? There's different places you can go, and there's different things you can do, and there's people you can connect with, and there's but we're much more. We have that similar feel, I guess. To play, but that's where it ends, right? Like there's not. We have 7 worlds, and there's also places you can go and explore, and there's going to be events calendars and things like that. Sexy travel, which of course COVID-19 kind of put up those 2 channels on hold because nobody was going anywhere or doing anything, right?
Right.
So,
Exactly.
but yeah, that's what we do, and that's what we're all about. And I think sites like FetLife and all the others, we're an aggregator of content.
Yep.
And so they should all have channels and let their people know what's going on.
I was going to say that you should be partnering with these people.
Well, I mean, I don't have to partner. They have the technology that can use it, meaning we'll gladly, that's what we designed it for.
Right.
And I guess always partners, but my point being, we don't even need to make an agreement. It's there, right? It's there. And if you're putting out great content and being a leader in your thought area, then we're going to promote your content because we want to get people the best of the best and have them coming back to please me for more. So, I mean, eventually, right, when we're a little bit further down the road this year, we'll have the self-administered advertising tool so our industry can finally advertise.
Nice.
But we need to raise the number of members first, right? So where you have that chicken and the egg situation too. So
I understand.
So very, very shortly, we'll have a whole ecosystem where we can have payment processing and cryptocurrency and screw the banks and processors that try to jack us up to 6, 7, 8, 10%, fees, and then tell us we're not going to do business with you anymore. So we're looking to provide the technology solutions to marketing and businesses challenges and make it easy for people. I mean, I really built it for me, right? Like, but if I'm going to build it, then I want it to be good.
Right.
But really make it easy for people to take this area of their life and make sure that it is positive and not negative, right? Whether that's because of trauma, or whether that's because of heartbreak, or whether that's because of lack of skill, or, whatever their hangups and problems are around sex and sexuality. Let's get to the bottom of it so you can get to living more pleasurable life. And if you have a pleasurable life and you're like, well, this has gotten really good, I'd like to make it better. Well, then let's give you some more tools to take it to extraordinary, so that's really what it's meant to do.
Boom.
And it takes an army for that.
Absolutely. So what is Please Me's mix of users like?
Oh my goodness. So it's so interesting. I love being a data company. We get to learn so much about ourselves. And that's another thing we're very dedicated to, is creating like the Watson, the AI, de-identified data of sex and sexuality, right? So I came from health and wellness. You mentioned it in my thing. So we treat every member like a patient, meaning we treat it like a HIPAA situation where their information is their private information. And so
Good.
anything that goes into the database goes on a number with a profile, meaning it's a woman between the ages of 20 and 29 who's single, and but her name is nowhere near it, right?
Okay.
And so it's not tied to their identity. And so we're going to continue to collect cool and informational stuff. But right now, what we know is that 62% of the people on the site are women, 32% are men. That is by design. When we spent our marketing dollars, and our target user is a woman between the ages of 25 and 55.
Nice.
Who likes dating and who's single and who loves interested in love and sexuality and astrology, for example, like is one persona. And we have the ladies' night mentality. If the ladies are there, the guys will come, and it's been working beautifully. We've not spent one dime to get the guys that are on the site. And we wanted that to be that ratio because I wanted women to feel comfortable and not like, if you've ever walked into a bar and there's like 7 guys to 1 girl, it's not fun.
Too many times.
Too much testosterone in the room. Like, no, I'm just like, it's just not fun. So I wanted them to feel, I always wanted to feel women heavy. If it meant,
hey, it can be kind of fun if you're female and want free drinks.
Well, yeah, but how many can you drink? And and where are you going after that?
That would be
home with 7 guys, apparently.
Oops. Is that one of your personas? Anyway, so how are you able to support the industry's need for advertising in a social media setting?
Well, I mean, number one, we're 21 and over, right? It's an adult social media platform. So that's the reason why we're saying we freed the nipple, and, you can post, and eventually some of the tools will allow members to rate photos. Are they X? Are they double X? Are they triple X? And then if people want to put filters on their feed and saying, I don't want to see anything that's this or that, right? So that people are getting what they want and not what they don't want. That's one thing. So, and the other thing is, we don't think there's anything wrong with advertising sex and sexuality.
Sure.
Right? Like there really are no laws that people are breaking. Like, why Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or Snapchat or Pinterest refuses to take our advertising dollars that please me is beyond me. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Nope.
We're not selling sex, meaning I'm not a prostitute. Not that there's anything wrong. I'm not knocking sex work, but if this is the law we're talking about, we're saying we can't do it because it's in violation of FOSTA SESTA, and we're going to go to jail. We're going to pay fines, and we're going to get civilly sued, right? So I'm not that. So I don't know what the problem is there, but they all tell us it's the end destination URL that they don't like.
It's their terms and conditions, which goes for so many different businesses in mainstream that ban our industry, and man, it just never ends. Email platforms and banks, and you can just go on and on and on. So how do you appeal to people of all sexual preferences?
I mean, it's really quite simple. It's about pleasing me. The site's name is Please Me.
Right.
And we give them an analysis so that they can put in their preferences of what they like in bed. That way we have a world we can put them into, right? Do you like really very traditional and don't really venture outside the bedroom, not interested in bringing in any pain for pleasure or restriction or role play? Well, then they're going to be in Alara, right? With other people who are also interested in those things in bed, right? So that way, when you have a question, you don't want to, because we don't just judge each other for having sex. We kind of judge each other for the way we have sex. Somebody who's sadomasochistic may say to somebody who, Alara, which is technically the term, they call it vanilla. The vanilla person might say, well, you're weird. And the Triton person might say, well, you're boring. Right? You know what I mean?
No, they would they all would say that, but anyway.
Right. So why put the Triton and the Alara in the same world?
I don't know. It might be fun.
Well, guess what? They can visit each other's world if they want to, right? But my point being, I wanted people to
You
feel
asked,
free.
hey, you asked why. So
Yeah.
that was my answer.
It could be fun. You're right, and they could visit. But yeah, we wanted people to feel free to ask the questions and
Sure.
not worry about people around judging. Even though we're
Exactly.
anonymous, sometimes we still take on some judgment when somebody says something
Yep.
to us, right? Doesn't matter what our name is, we hear it.
Right.
And so I really wanted people to feel safe. And then the content, of course, for those
Right.
worlds is curated to be applicable to those worlds. So in Alara,
Yep.
you're not going to see any BDSM content, right? Because they may not even want to see that. That may
Right.
turn them off.
Right.
That may scare them. That may go, oh, I'm not even coming on this site if I'm going to see that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Right. And so, and they're entitled to that, right? It's their sex and their sexuality, and it should be their journey, and they should enjoy it however they want to.
Amen.
Yeah. And so that's really how it was important to me that we could appeal to everyone. I thought, well, that would really suck if this tool is only available for some people and not all.
Yep.
Because we're all sexual beings. So we worked really hard to figure out a way to include the inclusivity and the diversity. And we want to have these conversations. I'm doing a 14 video series right now on all the areas that I feel Please Me has the power to do some real good and social reform.
Sweet.
And one of them is just, violence, hate crimes, and racism. It's like, you know what? It's great about Please Me. You go into a world, you're an avatar and a screen name. You can pick any avatar. You can be an animal. You can be a smiley face. You can be whatever you want. And you really don't know who you're talking to if you're friending people and chatting up and making comments in topic rooms. And you don't know their color, their age, none of it. You just know what they have to say.
Right.
And so we're getting to know one another and we're hearing one another with that other 2 or 3 senses nullified.
Oh, wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great if politics were like that?
Right. Right. And so how do we end racism? I mean, one thing I think is that when you finally have a friend that's of a race that maybe you didn't understand or you had a preconceived notion about, and then you got to be friends with that person, then you realize how wonderful they are. And why was I so scared of that race for so long? And like now I get mad if somebody's going to talk badly to my friend of that race because I have an understanding now. And I, have accepted that they're just the same as me.
Yep.
And I think the more that we have that ability to identify and learn from one another, where are we going to learn from one another if we're segregated?
I agree.
Right?
I agree. And we are.
So,
as Americans, we most certainly are, unfortunately.
Well, interestingly, America has more of a mecca of religions than a lot of other countries.
Yes.
Some of the small
it's permissive. It's permissive, right?
Yeah. I mean, we have more people here, but we just tend to communitize them, like in like people still kind of segment inside America, right? But we got the people; they're here of all different races, because everybody wants to come to America because it's a great country.
That's what makes the country great. So, why is I can talk. Why is privacy important for your channels and members?
Well, listen, we're not having sex in the middle of a restaurant for a reason. That's because sex is a private enterprise.
Right.
I mean, there's people that go to sex parties and they're into orgies and they like threesomes and foursomes and puppy piles and twosomes. And that's wonderful and great. And I'm not judging them. I'm just saying for most people, sex is a private enterprise. It's something that's done between 2 people who have interviewed each other and tested each other out and dated, and then they've decided, okay, now I'm going to be intimate with this person in many cases, right? And then they do it where no one's looking.
Right.
There's a reason for that, right? Because we're taking off all our clothes, we're being completely, vulnerable and intimate and this and that. And so why would we go out on a public platform and start talking about that private enterprise that's between me and another person, even if I'm comfortable with it? Somebody knows who my boyfriend or husband is, and I start talking about our sex on Facebook, I'm violating consent. Did he give me consent to talk about the fact that let's just say I'm just using this as an example because people have fears around it. But let's say I start talking about the fact that we were curious about pegging and I wanted to peg him and he let me. And now I'm making this story up, but I'm just
Right.
using it as an example because people, that is a real fear that guys have. If somebody hears I got pegged, they're going to think I'm gay, which there's nothing wrong with being gay, but in their mind,
Right.
they just don't want the wrong identity that's not who they are
Yeah.
being associated with them, right?
Sure.
And so if I start talking about that on Facebook, he just got violated.
Oh
His
boy,
consent.
did he.
Totally, right? Like he did. Why would you say that on Facebook and everybody hearing it? That's my private business.
Why do so many people say private things on Facebook?
Right.
I know married couples that that have private conversations on Facebook. I'm like, why?
Why? So, right. So if you're exploring and or learning and or healing and or just entertaining yourself privately,
Sure.
it should be, it needs, you should at least have the option for it to be privately,
Correct.
number one.
Correct.
Because it is a private enterprise. And then number two, maybe I don't know what I like yet because I'm exploring. And maybe I would be willing to come out and say a little bit more publicly about sex and sexuality once I know and I'm clear that that's how I feel and I'm not ashamed to say it.
Sure.
But while I'm exploring, I don't really know how I feel.
Right. Right.
I'm exploring.
Yeah, especially for younger people who don't have a lot of experience. So, what problems have you solved for sexual wellness and pleasure brands with your platform?
Social sharing is a big problem, meaning people won't share their content because they don't want people to see them sharing sexual content.
Sure.
That's a huge problem. Advertising, that's another problem.
Yep.
We're solving. Eventually, and I say eventually, the product isn't ready for use yet, but financial tech to process payments and save them money and fees is another problem that we're saving. I think just the not being able to be their brand is a problem.
Sure.
In the marketplace, they can't even really put out the information they want and say the things and they put the images that they would prefer to use to celebrate sexuality because they get censored everywhere.
Yeah.
So we've opened up in the creativity box of, hey, write the articles you want, use the images you want, and another problem we've solved is, when they do advertise, if you write an article, right? It's about a dildo and how great it is. You have the ability, and please me, to choose what worlds you're posting that article to. And if I want to, I can put a different image at the head of that article for Alara, that one I told you about that's very vanilla. And I can put a totally different image for the one that's either Vega, Triton, or Janus, that's more BDSM focused. So now that same piece of content actually can appeal and the user can go, oh, I see myself there. Look at that cool BDSM person. Let me read this sex toy. They care about BDSM people.
Yeah.
Right. And so it really allows marketing teams to get creative and use one piece of content and just change the imagery to match the user personas better.
Nice. So how many business channels have set up Please Me accounts?
Last I checked, which was, I believe, last week, it's 425.
Jeez, that's great.
Yeah. Some of the big names, I mean, Dame Products, Laura DiCarlo, Lustery, Adult Time. There's so many. I hate to just pull out names because there's so many. There's podcasters, there's erotic writers, there's ASMR artists, there's, just personal artists, people that are porn stars or cam girls. There's so many. I mean, there's too many to mention, but lots of big ones.
That's awesome. So who's on your? So if you had your choice, if you what do you have a wish list of brands and companies that aren't there yet?
All of them. All of them. No, seriously. I mean, really, all of them. Because I want our members to have a plethora. But yes, I'd love to see Esther Perel have a channel. I think she's amazing and has such great content. We can still post her content because she's got a lot of free content on YouTube. So we do because I value her thought leadership, but love to have her energy in the platform. We've got Dr. Ava Cadell and Lori Handlers, who are two dynamos that have been in this industry teaching and educating on sex and sexual wellness for 30 years each. So we've got a lot of really great thought leadership.
Yes, but do you have Dr. Ruth?
I met Dr. Ruth
Oh my
at
God.
the Playboy Club in New York right before COVID-19 happened at my friend
Oh,
Robbie's
God.
birthday party. And boy, my God, she's short. And she let little pipsqueak party till 12 o'clock at night with us.
She's got to be 150 by now.
She's 92, and
Oh my
she just
God.
launched a new book.
Yeah,
actually,
I
in
heard.
the last like 8 or 9 months. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Have you
And
ever
so
heard? You ever heard Sam Kinnison's material on her?
No,
You ever heard Sam?
I love Sam Kinison.
Okay.
He's hilarious.
After we're done, you need to Google Sam Kinnison, Dr. Ruth, and you'll fall out of your chair.
Oh my God, I'm totally doing that.
It's going to be awesome. You'll love it. So, what do you hope to accomplish with Please Me?
You know, I mean, I want to increase the world's happiness quotient. It's just that simple. I really feel like when sex and relationships have such a huge impact on our overall health and well-being. When I worked in the medical community, I was like working on the physical side, right? The cellular therapies, the nutrition, the weight loss, you know, how to live healthier, longer, better quality of life, right?
Sure.
What I learned really quickly was that people, no matter how healthy I got them physically, if they were emotionally unwell or if they were, and this completely applied to my life too. If I was having negative energy coming from my relationship sector and from sex and sexuality, because I was very repressed sexually growing up. My family was really religious and I lived in the Midwest. And, you know, I had a couple early sexual traumas from the age of 5 on. So I didn't buy a vibrator till I was like 36, you know, I didn't know how to have an orgasm myself until 38, you know, so it was definitely a lot of shame, a lot of unsatisfying sex, a lot of fights, a lot of 2 divorces, you know, then I was like, something's got to give. It's got to change. And the only person that could do that was me. You know what I mean? And so I really just hope that people understand the importance that this area of our life really has and how it spills over into everything else. And when you realize that and take a little accountability and say, well, it's not great, but I can make it great if I just get some information, education, and put some time into it. Then I think we can have a more productive society. I think we can have less crime. I think we can end cycles of abuse. I think we can put a big dent in child sex trafficking. I think there's so many different things, gender equality, you know, racism, hate crimes. I mean, let's get together and take the steps that we can with the man and the woman in the mirror to be contributing positively to this part of our lives in the world. And that's really how you tackle these things is you can't force somebody to not be a racist.
No.
You just can't.
Yeah, you're right.
You can litigate and legislate and write it and do this and do that, but you can't change people's hearts unless they want to change their heart.
You're right.
You know, so how do we do that? It's by giving them tools and access and, you know, integrating. Integrating.
I agree. I could not agree more. Well, Heather, I'd like to thank you for being our guest today on Adult Side Broker Talk, and I hope we'll get a chance to do this again really soon.
Thank you, Bruce. It was so much fun. I really enjoyed being here, and I love meeting you too, and I hope that you're doing well over there in Thailand.
And I hope we'll get a chance to meet in person soon.
I'm sure we will.
My broker tip today is part 6 of how to buy an adult website. Last week we talked about the sales agreement. So now both of you have signed the agreement. What comes next? There needs to be an escrow set up where you send the money, whether it be a one-time payment or a deposit if you're going to be making payments. This is done about half the time these days. The seller, for their part, puts the assets of the sale into escrow, namely the domains being sold and any other tangible assets that can be put into escrow. Your attorney can give you more information on that. We recommend escrow.domains for escrows. They are a firm out of Washington, D.C., and no, they're not paying me to say this. I just use them, trust them, and am delighted by the work they've done for us. Either an escrow agreement will be drawn up by them in the case of a custom escrow, or if it's a simple one, it can be set up on their website. Then you, the buyer, the seller, and the broker will be contacted by escrow domains with further instructions such as wiring information. The escrow is opened and either the deal closes within a matter of a few days or an inspection period is allowed. It all depends on what the agreement calls for. Whether you need an inspection period really depends on whether there is still some information you need to find out prior to the deal closing. Your broker and your attorney can advise you more on this, and this is on a case-by-case basis. Then the money is transferred, as are the domains, and the deal is closed. Now, in many cases, in fact most of the time, the seller either stays on board for a period of time to help with the transition or is at least available on a call basis to answer questions. This is something most buyers should ask for. But at this point, you pretty much own the website. What do you do now? We'll talk more about that next week. And next week, we'll be talking to Matthew Bennett, the English Leather Master. You don't want to miss that. And that's it for this week's Adult Site Broker Talk. I'd once again like to thank my guest, Heather Montgomery of Please Me. Talk to you again next week on Adult Site Broker Talk. I'm Bruce Friedman.